Space as we know it continues to fascinate mankind's smartest minds. This is why several space agencies have intensified exploration plans for the next decade. Some of the countries in which these space agencies are found include the United States, China, and Russia. Even private space agencies such as Elon Musk's SpaceX are involved in the race, and as a result, some of them have to collaborate. It is no longer hidden news that recently Elon Musk and China had some collaborations. Shortly after, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO leaked one of China's shocking discoveries on the moon. What did China discover on the far side of the moon, and why was it kept a secret? Has extraterrestrial life finally been found? Join us as we explore how Elon Musk just leaked China's shocking discovery on the far side of the moon. The China National Space Administration has been making rounds with its trips and missions in space, shocking the entire world and giving NASA a run for its space achievements. With the nation's construction of its own space station, the People's Republic of China has been able to uncover several discoveries in the course of its exploration. One of these discoveries was made on the moon, which Elon Musk discovered and leaked. After Elon Musk leaked the discovery, the China National Space Administration and China Atomic Energy Authority jointly made an announcement addressing the leaked information. They informed the world that their scientists had made a shocking discovery in the course of their research on the moon, as they have uncovered the sixth new lunar material named Chang'e Y. The new mineral was found by scientists at the Beijing Research Institute of Uranium Geology. It was found while assessing the surface samples sent by the country's Chang'e 5 robotic mission and has been certified by the International Mineralogical Association and its Commission on New Minerals, Nomenclature and Classification. The newly discovered material Chang'e Y was analyzed and fell into the lunar merillite category. It is the first lunar material discovered and observed by Chinese scientists, making China the third nation in the world to make such a shocking discovery after the United States and Russia. The mineral sample, which was found in the form of a single crystalline particle with a diameter of 10 microns, was separated by scientists from more than 140,000 tiny particles. Afterward, it was analyzed through several advanced mineralogical methods at the Beijing Research Institute of Uranium Geology. A chief scientist of the lunar sample research at the institute, Li Ziying, was excited at this discovery, saying the new minerals would take the researchers a step ahead as it would assist them in their study of the history and physical attributes of the moon. The mission that achieved this shocking discovery, the Chang'e 5 robotic mission, was launched at the Wenchang Space Launch Center in South China's Hainan province and successfully landed on the moon. It was the world's third spacecraft to touch down on the lunar surface in the 21st century after its two Chinese predecessors, Chang'e 3 and 4. The space mission sent 1,731 grams of lunar rocks and soil back to Earth, achieving an historic accomplishment about 46 years after the previous lunar substances were brought back from our nearest celestial neighbor. The mission to the moon lasted for 23 days and it was one of China's most challenging space trips. The first batch of lunar samples sent by Chang'e 5 was distributed by the China National Space Administration, each weighing 17.5 grams. They were divided into 21 lots and handed over to researchers from 13 domestic research organizations working on 31 scientific projects. It also engraved the nation in the history books, making China the third country to discover materials from the moon after the United States and the former Soviet Union. Scientists from several departments, including the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Natural Resources, were also involved in researching the moon samples. The outcome of the research showed that the tiny moon crystal is more than 1 billion years old and is as wide as a human hair. Some researchers at the International Mineralogical Association confirmed that the tiny moon crystal is made up of a composition that has never been seen before. It is related to other minerals found only on the moon or in meteors. These scientific milestones brought about a better understanding of the moon's origin and evolution. It also provided the platform to explore the effective utilization of lunar resources. However, that was not the only shocking discovery that was uncovered on the moon mission. This second discovery is the real reason why Elon Musk leaked the information, being an advocate for clean energy. Among the roughly 140,000 lunar particles that were analyzed from the Chang'e 5 moon rock haul, scientists and researchers also discovered traces of helium-3. Helium-3 is a different version of the helium element that is not commonly found here on Earth, but is believed to be abundant on the moon. It is also conceived as a potential fuel source that could help transform the production and utilization of clean and efficient energy on Earth. hence why Elon Musk pushed the information out to the public. For several years, scientists have been amazed at the discovery of helium-3 and its possibility to be a potential source of fuel for nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion is a type of energy production that happens when two light atoms come together to form one heavy atom under extreme heat and pressure. Nuclear fusion happens naturally in the interior of stars. However, humans have yet to develop a fusion reactor capable of creating more energy than was put into it. Helium-3 is a particularly promising fuel source for fusion as it produces significantly less radiation and nuclear waste than other elements do, according to the European Space Agency. The element exists on Earth but is only available in small quantities. However, helium-3 is thought to be much more abundant on the Moon, where it has been deposited directly onto the lunar soil for billions of years by the solar wind, as said by the European Space Agency. Even though there are no viable reactors to put it in, helium-3 has nevertheless started a lunar resource race. Multiple spacefaring nations and private companies have expressed interest in mining the Moon for its helium-3, including the United States and China. Chang'e 5's discovery of a new helium-3 deposit on the Moon could push the global race forward to ransack the Moon's mineral resources. Apart from the tech genius working towards clean and efficient energy, we're also aware that Elon Musk has plans to take human civilization out of Earth to occupy and thrive in other places on the Moon. Speaking of the Moon, further exploration of the Moon by the Chinese space probe Chang'e 5 led to the detection of water on the Moon's surface. So does this mean humanity can survive on the Moon? Scientists and researchers have known the Moon to be nearly bone dry, but with the help of their Chinese lunar lander, they detected water on the Moon, and these are not just speculations. Scientists can confirm that water was detected on the lunar surface. At this time, Chang'e 5 had already sent more than 60 ounces of soil and rock samples back to Earth from its trip to the Moon, where the rare minerals Chang'e Y and helium-3 were found. But before Chang'e 5 came back to Earth, it had already used an instrument on board to take some measurements. From the outcome of these measurements, scientists from 239,000 miles away on Earth knew that the space probe had likely found water on the Moon. Water is not a resource you're likely to come across in deep space, being one of the keys to human survival and a life-sustaining ingredient. The scarcity or unavailability of water in space is one of the reasons why exploring the final frontier is a challenge that requires immense preparation. But with this discovery, that is about to change. In order to find out more about this phenomenon, scientists did more research to see if the tiny bit of water found on the Moon can be tapped for use by astronauts while they're away from the planet for a long time. A research team led by scientists at the Institute of Geology and Geophysics of the Chinese Academy of Sciences dived into the data detected by the Chang'e 5, and they saw signs of water in the space probe's readings. They identified H2O molecules based on their well-defined spectral reflectance, a measurement of how something reflects or takes in the sun's radiation. With these results gathered from the data, Matt Seigler, a senior scientist for the Planetary Science Institute in Tucson, Arizona, said there might be more water on the Moon than researchers previously thought. With these phenomena occurring and discoveries being uncovered, scientists now better understand what lunar water is. Unlike when the Apollo astronauts came back from Earth in 1969, they believed that the Moon was totally bone dry. But more missions and trips to the Moon were conducted, including the Indian Space Research Organization's Chandrayaan-1, which found signs of hydration on the sunlit surface. Although it couldn't be confirmed at the time whether it was H2O or hydroxyl, water's close chemical relative. Casey Honeyball, a NASA postdoctoral fellow, described the latter chemical as something related to drain cleaner. There have also been more missions that found ice in the hard-to-reach craters around the Moon's poles, which are constantly in the shadow. This made scientists repeatedly withdraw to their drawing board and observe the famous Apollo samples. Upon observing the samples, they discovered water molecules in glass beads and minerals within them. That discovery was a bit confusing, as some scientists became skeptical about the water, confused if it actually came from the Moon or from moisture contamination in Houston. However, there were more phenomena to prove the presence of water. A month before the Chinese lunar lander encountered water on the Moon's surface, NASA announced that they confirmed water existed in a sunny part of the Moon even without going there. NASA achieved this by flying a jet up to 45,000 feet from From there, NASA used the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, or SOFIA for short, to observe the distinct wavelength signals of water molecules. The telescope findings from this trip suggested the water might be widespread on the moon, not just frozen at its poles. Most previous measurements observed by scientists have detected water, but none of those studies happened on the moon itself until the recent discovery made by China's spacecraft. Matt Siegler stated the only difference is that the spectral reflectance data has to be corrected for the object's temperature to figure out how much water is in it. Otherwise, the moon's surface heat could change or mask the reflected light features, but it's hard to know the precise temperature of a target at an extreme distance. That's kind of significant about this one on the lunar surface. You know that specific rock, and they're able to measure the temperature of it, and there's none of this ambiguity. However, Chang'e 5 didn't find gushing rivers, lagoons, or cascading waterfalls in the previously unexplored area. Think much smaller traces of water in the soil where it landed, a region perhaps ironically referred to as the Oceanus Procellarum, or Ocean of Storms. Scientists believe that the water was possibly created by the solar wind, the gases flowing off the sun. When the solar wind, which has hydrogen atoms, hits the oxygen in the moon's soil and rocks, it can make water. From the same location, a moon rock was found with a higher water concentration than the soil around it, suggesting it had another water source, not just solar wind. China is not just making history with space rovers. The first space rover created by China to land on the moon was Chang'e 4, the first spacecraft that made history by landing on the far side of the moon, an area that had not been explored before. It launched from our planet on December 7, 2018, and landed on the following year on January 3rd. Since it made its historic landing, Chang'e 4 also made shocking discoveries, such as the gel-like substance it found on the moon. On July 28th, the Chinese space rover was preparing to power down for its daily nap to protect itself from the midday sun during its mission to study the moon's far side. But before its complete shutdown, one of the scientists operating the space rover noticed something odd in one of the images the moon lander took. Upon examination, they saw it was a strangely colored substance with a gel-like composition. Immediately, the space rover team scrapped their plans to power down the moon robot, and they began to investigate the crate. The substance was observed with the lustrous spot with the rover's visible and near-infrared spectrometer, VINIS. However, results from that analysis have not been released, nor have images of the substance, and that led to speculations. The most likely explanation that was given for the phenomenon is that the lustrous spot is not a gel, but is some form of shiny melted glass that formed when a meteorite struck the moon. Mahesh Anand, a planetary scientist at the Open University in the United Kingdom, agreed with this speculation, but not fully. He said it would be hard to confirm what the substance is actually made up of, with very little information about the said phenomenon, but he gave the benefit of the doubt that the material could be a type of glass. The fact that it has been observed associated with a small impact crater, this finding could be extremely exciting, as it would indicate that a very different material could just be hiding underneath the very top surface, he says. This would assume even greater significance if these materials turn out to have experienced interaction with water ice. A physicist at Syracuse University also agreed to these speculations, saying the substance can be lunar dust that was turned into glass by a meteorite impact. While many processes like waves, wind, and volcanoes on Earth can create and transform interesting geology, meteorites are pretty much the only thing that can reform the moon's surface. He explained further, giving an example to relate to. He said there is a bit of precedent here for this on Earth. For example, at the site where the first nuclear bomb was tested in New Mexico, there is a glassy mineral called trinitite, which was formed from the explosion's heat. He related this to the supposed gel-like substance, saying the same thing is likely to have happened with meteorite impacts. Although it is not the first odd patch of color found on the moon, most parts of the moon's surface are covered by fine gray dust known as lunar regolith. During the final manned mission to the moon in 1972, Apollo 17 mission geologist Harrison Jack Schmitt scratched the surface of Shorty Crater, which revealed orange soil. The crew brought a sample of the orange soil back to Earth, and they found out that the soil was formed when molten droplets sprayed out of a volcanic eruption 3.64 billion years ago. This gave more strength to the meteorite speculation. However, China's Chang'e 4 did not only discover unresolved phenomena, the rover also debunked some mysteries, such as the mystery hut on the moon. This was discovered in November 2021 by a rover named Yutu-2, which was deployed by China's Chang'e 4. The rover spotted something unusual in the distance, a small square object called the Mystery Hut, because it looks like a hut from the distance. In a bid to find out more about the mysterious hut, scientists sent the rover to get a closer look, and the Mystery Hut turned out to be a moon rock. The rock's name has since been changed to the Jade Rabbit. The weird object appeared in a photo from Yutu-2 in November 2021. From the photo taken a few hundred yards away, the Mystery Hut appeared to be a small building with a flat roof. Also, the dark spot in the middle gave the Mystery Hut the perfect definition of a shelter of some sort, like a small shack. Unfortunately, or should we say luckily, there was no alien monolith within the visual range of Yutu-2. When the space probe got closer to the hut, it turned out to be another moon rock that would become priceless on Earth, but is just a landmark on the moon. The combination of shadows, angle, and location contributed to the rocks becoming a mystery hut. The rover operators examined the moon rock more, and they noticed that it looked a bit like a rabbit, and that was how the Mystery Hut moon rock was named the Jade Rabbit. The discovery of this moon rock and the circumstances surrounding its finding show us how little we know about the surface of celestial objects. Apart from this shocking discovery made by China on the moon, NASA has also spotted strange formations on the surface of Mars. Whenever these mysterious formations are spotted, rovers are sent to check them out, but they end up finding it to be another rock located at a weird angle. One such situation is the supposed face on Mars, which was later confirmed to be a deceit from light when better imaging technology was used to assess the alleged face. Although these rocks can still have huge scientific importance regardless of their natural origins, it is a bit disappointing to think one has discovered something from afar only to move closer and be completely disappointed. The world of science and the universe would have been a more interesting place, with more theories coming up if a tiny hut had been spotted on the moon. Still, it was a great discovery from the first space rover that explored the moon's far side. One consistent thing about the world of science is that there would always be speculations and theories, one way or the other. However, Elon Musk does not seem to mind the speculations about his mission to Mars. He still pushes further to achieve his human colonization of the Red Planet. His space company SpaceX is currently building a lunar lander that should allow NASA to send astronauts back to the moon as soon as 2025. As Elon Musk is working towards his ambitions, Chinese scientists also have long-held goals to establish a manned moon base. Not only for China to own a moon base, but to send nuclear-powered rockets into space in decades to come to colonize and better explore the final frontier. And their prayers have been answered as China plans to construct its first moon base by 2028 before landing astronauts there in the years to follow. The People's Republic of China is really stepping up its game in challenging NASA's dominance in space exploration. Plans for the moon base's construction would likely be powered by nuclear energy, and its basic configuration would consist of a lander, hopper, orbiter, and rover. Also, the tools would all be constructed by Chang'e 6, 7, and 8 missions. The chief designer of China's lunar exploration program, Wu Weiren, predicted the moon base's completion, saying Chinese astronauts would be able to go to the moon within 10 years. And with regards to powering the moon base with nuclear energy, he said it is the best option that can address the lunar station's long-term, high-power energy needs. China has put itself in the spotlight for the world in recent years with its achievements, from sending probes to the moon, building its own space station, and preparing to explore Mars. It's a great thing to see. However, their plans have put them on track in competition with NASA of the United States. On the other hand, NASA has a rover on the Red Planet and is seeking to fly astronauts to the moon again this decade since the Apollo program ended in the 1970s. Both China and the US are spending billions of dollars to not only send humans to explore the moon, but to also access resources that could foster life on the lunar surface or to transport spacecraft to Mars. China plans to construct the moon base at the moon's south pole, an area scientists think is the most suitable to access water. The nation also hopes to eventually expand its base into an international research station. As a matter of fact, China has started laying out its pathway for robotic, crewed lunar and deep space exploration, with several missions in preparation for the permanent moon base. 3 upcoming robotic missions will set in place landers, orbiters, relay satellites, and test key technologies needed to begin construction of China's International Lunar Research Station in the 2030s. While China is planning a short-term lunar landing mission before the end of this decade, ILRS will initially be a robotic base that will be permanently habitable after 2035. China is also currently working towards launching the Chang'e 6, 7, and 8 missions in the coming years to set the stage for the larger moon base initiative. Chang'e 6, a follow-up to the successful 2020 Chang'e 5 lunar sample return, has been programmed to attempt retrieving up to 2 kilograms of material from the South Pole Aitken Basin on the lunar far side in 2026. Due to engineering constraints, the landing is expected to hold at a similar latitude to the 2019 Chang'e 4 landing in the von Karman crater. A new lunar relay satellite will also be launched to ensure smooth communications with missions targeting the vicinity of the Moon's south pole. Chang'e 7 will launch around 2026 and comprise an orbiter, lander, rover, and mini-flying detector to study the lunar topography, material composition, and environment. With these tools, the latter spacecraft would be able to find the presence of water ice. The mission aims to investigate areas that are permanently shadowed at the lunar south pole. Chang'e 8 is planned to launch by 2028, and it would be an in-situ resource utilization and 3D printing technology test mission. China is also preparing for a crewed lunar landing before 2030. The missions would utilize 2 launches of a new generation crew launch vehicle to send 3 astronauts to the moon and would watch 2 of them sit down on the moon's surface for around 6 hours. Both lunar landers and spacecraft are still in development. The China International Lunar Research Station will experience 5 launches across the early 2030s to put in place orbit and surface infrastructure for energy, communications, in situ resource utilization, and other advanced technologies. These missions would require the lifting capacity of a Long March 9 super heavy lifting rocket, a space vehicle that officials recently announced has changed its design to make it reusable. Does this mean Elon Musk is a part of China's moon projects? We can't say for sure, but we know there are more discoveries to come from the Chinese Space Agency. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.